Cody here with another video. Today we're just going to go ahead and talk about what I was doing during the time off, or when I was taking actually my sabbatical. Some of you have been very interested in what happened, and I'm actually happy to share that. So if you're not interested in hearing that story of what was going on or things of like that, feel free to click away. No harm, no foul. But for those of you who are interested in what happened, it's story time. Buckle up. Let's go ahead and start. Now, in the summer of 2019, God, it feels like so long ago, but what happened essentially was and as I let everyone know, my real goal was to work on myself, was to relax and enjoy my fragrances, take some time off. But there was something else that I didn't really dive into too much. And that was essentially there was some work drama going on. Now, I used to work for Aetna CVS, right? And again, I'm not bashing anyone here of what's going on, just letting you guys know what happened. But I used to work for Aetna CVS, and Aetna was actually acquired by CVS. And for those of you who know, whenever a company is acquired by another company or two companies merge, there often is some sort of people or some set of people who get let go, right? Now, what I mean by let go, it's natural. Processes get merged together. You have some systems and agencies that have the same function, so they get merged together. You don't need as many people to do the same job, and so you kind of get rid of some people, right? In our case, they promised us, well, in your case, guys, as product managers, you're simply going to be rolled into another role of that sort. So even if we kind of make your systems redundant, we'll find another role for you in this respect. I was like, okay, cool. But at the same time, I've dealt with mergers before, and I know that's almost never true, right? It's usually the same song and dance. But anyways, what happened at this time was I saw an email that was sent out to, company-wide, basically saying, we've got this new group here that is in charge of an area that I was previously in charge for. And they had never let me know of this change or anything that was going on, right? So now you had this new team there, and I was kind of like, that's probably not a good sign, right? But I figured based on some of the products that I was working on and making that, hey, I probably have a year and a half, just because that's generally around speaking when this, change might come in, or when any real move might make. That would coincide with when the overall product would be done and conceived and available to use for, company wide. And that's when I figured it would currently happen. But I kind of kept that to the back of my mind. But I also realized, I probably got to uptick myself at work and, reach out and potentially get some more products to kind of work on, just to, kind of ensure myself. Now, at the same time, though, what I actually did realize and made to myself was I probably only wanted to continue working at that company for the next year and a half from that time, right? So I was like, okay, well, this is probably going to be, natural. We'll see what actually comes out about it, right? So fast forward to December of 2019. I've been spending, a little bit more time, not a little bit, but a lot more time at work, working on some various projects and everything like that. My boss and I at the time had a meeting planned, right? And I remember going into that meeting, but my boss's boss was also in that meeting, and he wasn't part of the meeting invite or anything like that. So I walked into that meeting. I'm like, wait a second. Now, I have never been let go or fired from a job before, but when I saw my boss's boss in there at the same time, alarm bells started going off in my head. I'm like, wait a second, something's not right here, because that never happens, right? So sure enough, let go. They sit me down and basically say, hey, your position is being eliminated. It has nothing to do with you. There's consolidation. They basically said, you have two options, right? One option was to pursue a position working under this new team. Unfortunately, they would be based out of the Massachusetts area, and I live in New York. Or I can take 6 months of, full pay severance leave, and then, just leave basically. So it would be effective, towards, the end of January. This was December basically. So I was like, I, kind of thought about it, and obviously I accepted the 6-month severance as well. My plan, it wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been there longer than that year anyway. So I figured, what, it's actually a time that I can go ahead and essentially get paid to find another job, right? So that's the way I took it, right? Always look at things in the best sort of light and always use it as an opportunity. And that's what I've always kind of taught myself, and that's the way that I approach things in life. So, so I was disappointed that it happened, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity, right? So at the same time, I'd still be working there for like another 2 months before before my severance would kick in, before my last day and my severance would kick in. So I'm like, okay, not a problem. So it was no hard feelings all around. It's just what happened, right? So, found out there were some other coworkers in the same situation that had happened. We all kind of bonded over it. Okay, let it go, right? So that is my first delay. This is the first delay here, because I had originally been planning to come back around that December, January period or so. But when this happened, it was like, okay, I've got to focus on this job. I've got to focus on work, basically. So my plan, again, was to essentially use this time to, find another job and to kind of relax, take some time off, because I'd realized I've actually been working straight with no break since I was 13 years old, right? So I was like, I can use this as a time to just really take off and, search for a job, but at the same time, just enjoy myself, right? So let's get to so now we're in 2020 of January, right? And it's my last day, and literally on my last day, I get a call from Becky, my wife, for those of you who don't know. And she tells me, she's like, I got the good news. I'm pregnant. So I'm like, obviously I was ecstatic at the news, but at the same time, I'm like, last day at work, find out I've got another kid on the way. And all of a sudden my anxiety level went up, right? So rather than being relaxed for this time, I got really anxious, and I was like, okay, now I definitely got to find another job, right? My wife and I are in good enough financial straits where, it's this will be a topic for another video, but we keep an emergency fund that funds us so that if we both lose our jobs and take in no income and we keep everything the same, we'll be able to work off of this emergency fund or go off of this emergency fund for a year. No changes, includes vacation, everything. So we like to keep that nest egg just so we have that in the back of our heads to give us flexibility to kind of do what we want, right? So it wasn't a financial anxiety, but it was more an anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but I get very uneasy. I'm responsible, obviously, for my wife, my daughter, and now my eventually, as you will learn, my son, right? So, I just felt a lot of anxiety for that. But anyways, so fast forward to March now at this point, right? So March job search is going well at this point, right? I've narrowed it down. I've been interviewing with a ton of companies, but I've narrowed it down to 3, right? I've essentially been accepted. I got a position at Home Depot. I hadn't officially accepted their acceptance letter. I was well along the process with Google. And Amazon, I was well along the process with too. So I was wrapping up towards the ones. Amazon, actually, I was closer in ending with, but I was wrapping it up with them and narrowing it down to those companies, right? So I was really intrigued with that. What happened at that same time, though, was COVID, right? That's really when it started getting into swings, March of last year. Here in New York, so I walk my daughter to school every day, right? And when I was walking her to school, we passed a hospital, and I remember we passed that hospital, and I remember seeing a makeshift building, like a tent that was in front of the hospital. And, I dropped my daughter off at school, and as I was walking back past the hospital, looked over, and I saw people taking body bags into that building. And I realized, oh, wait a second, they're taking body bags in there because they don't have enough space in the hospital morgue. So they have created a makeshift morgue out there. And I was like, oh. So we went home and, we were on the news and everything like that. And at the time, it was really unsure what was going to happen. There were rumors flying around that Manhattan was going to be quarantined and shut down, and New York City was going to be shut down. There's going to be no in or outs of any of the bridges and tunnels. And then so my wife and I just decided on the spur of a moment, okay, you know what? Let's go rent a van, put whatever we deem as essential, and just drive down to Florida, where we have some family and there's essentially an extra home. It's the home that you saw in the other one, but that we can stay in. We're quarantined away from people. We don't have to be near anyone. Let's just do it. So that's what we did. We packed all of our stuff into the van and we left. Yeah, man, it was crazy. So we went down to Florida to stay for for COVID, basically. So back to Amazon. At the same time, Amazon in Seattle was having the same problem. I was originally supposed to fly out there for the final interview, and I ended up having it, online. I think I was one of the first ones that they did for this whole interview process online, which is very interesting. It was a very good process, but the Amazon interview process was a gauntlet. I think the last interview, or the second to last one, it was like 5 hours with people, person after person, with a break in between, the person. It was pretty nuts, but a lot of fun. And long story short, I ended up accepting that position and working at Amazon. Fantastic company, love working with them. Intelligent people all around. It is great. Yeah, so so the funny thing is this, right? That's when. Right after I got the interview, that's when I had the "I'm not dead yet" video. It was basically about 2 weeks after I had started my Amazon position. The funny thing was, I had always planned on, after I accept my offer, telling whatever company that I worked for, hey, I'm going to go ahead and start 1 month later from now, and then use that time to go ahead and travel. Because once I had the position and signed that position, a load would be off, and I would not have to worry about things like that. But yeah, so so I accepted the position, but because of COVID, I couldn't really go anywhere, so I just started. But the good thing about that, starting so soon, was I still was under, what was it called again? The severance pay. Sorry, brain fart. I was still under severance pay, so at the same time I was getting paid twice from two different companies for a period of a couple months, which was really nice to build up and invest more of just the extra. So that was nice. Yeah, so about that time is when I had the "I'm not dead yet" video. That was in early May. So you can see what was going on at that time. I was extremely busy. My wife was showing, becoming more pregnant as the months went on. I had just started this new job. I had to, really learn the intricacies of the job and go through. So I was really busy on that front. Also busy, with home and family. So I wasn't ready to return then. Yeah. So, there was essentially, I working remotely. There was a lot of upskilling, relearning SQL, all that good stuff. Anyways, in September, my son was born, and my son was born, and on September 11th, and the craziness began. With kids, especially those first couple of months, it's often very little to no sleep. My wife and I alternate, and it's he's doing great now, but in the very beginning, he just did not sleep a lot at all, and he would wake up at crazy times. He still has kind of a funky sleeping schedule, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was before. But yeah, so that craziness, and around that time was the peak of Amazon, where things at Amazon get really busy, just because it's, the holiday season and everything like that. So there was still no return in sight. But in January, we moved back to New York City, and we've been here ever since, enjoying our time. My daughter's back in school. She's about to graduate from preschool, and we're going to put her in pre-K the following year. My son's doing well. He's at nanny share. And yeah, we're really enjoying ourselves. And Becky is doing great. She says hi to everyone. She's been on a couple of the videos before. But yeah, it's overall been very, very good. I'm in good shape, feeling good. I cut out a little bit more meat out of my diet, back in the weight room, so lifting weights again now that it's a little bit more safe from a COVID perspective. And yeah, things are great. They're bright back up, and I'm excited to get back into reviewing fragrances again. It's I've got a couple fragrances in mind now that I actually want to start off and kick it off, so keep a watch out for them. And let's see if I can get this format that I want, providing you guys the detail that's there. So yeah, man, what a crazy time. And during that time, I was very saddened. We lost, man, a couple people within the fragrance community, and I want to have a separate video for that, but it's extremely sad. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyways, that's it, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks for sticking through me with this nearly 15-minute video, but that's it. Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves, and you guys have a great day.